Welcome back, everyone, to the deep dive. You know how we usually get into the nitty-gritty of, news stories and all the headlines? Well, today we're doing something a little different.
Yeah, going to be taking a look at something I think equally fascinating. It's the April 2025 meeting schedule for a group called For Men to Talk.
Interesting.
Yeah, and at first glance, it might seem like just a boring list of dates and times, right?
Right.
But when you really dig deeper, it's like a window into how this organization functions, how they structured themselves, and really the surprisingly diverse ways they're helping guys connect.
Yeah, absolutely. This is way more than just, a list of locations and times. It's more like a roadmap of how they actually do things. You can see, I mean, by looking at the schedule, how many different ways they're providing for men to, connect and support each other.
Totally. And the thing that just pops out right away is like the sheer variety of what they offer. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not just, sitting around in a circle kind of meetings.
There are virtual options, which, obviously opens things up to anybody anywhere.
Hmm.
And then you see these activity-based groups, for men to talk and walk, and even for men to talk on fish. It makes you wonder, right? Like how these different environments might actually make it easier for guys to talk and open up.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
really does. I mean, think about the walking groups, for example.
Hmm.
Sometimes, just having that shared activity, like you're both walking, you're side by side, you're moving forward, it can take the pressure off. Like
Yeah.
it's not as intense maybe as sitting face to face.
Hmm.
And the fishing group, well, that's even more interesting, right? It's calming. It's peaceful.
Yeah.
A shared hobby like that,
Hmm.
fishing,
Hmm.
it can really set the stage for a relaxed kind of connection.
All right, so let's get into the specifics. Let's go week by week and break this schedule down. Now, the document calls the first section week commencing 31 April 2025 schedule. But when you look at the actual dates, it really covers, the tail end of March and the beginning of April. So we're talking like right on the cusp there.
Okay.
And right off the bat, on Tuesday, April 1st, we see two physical meetings. The first one is for men to talk Gamlingay. They're meeting at the Gamlingay Eco Hub in Cambridgeshire at 6 p.m. And then there's another one for men to talk Stockport at the Wheatsheaf in Stockport. That one starts an hour later at 7 p.m.
Interesting. Right away, the geography kind of jumps out at you. Gambling Day and Stockport, I mean, those are pretty far apart.
Yeah.
So it shows that Ferment to Talk is active in different regions. Like they're not just a local group. They're addressing a need in multiple communities,
Hmm.
which is that's pretty significant.
Absolutely. And then literally the very next day, Wednesday, April 2nd, there's a virtual group meeting. That one's scheduled for 6 p.m. And that's a key difference from the physical meetings, right? And this virtual meeting means anyone with an internet connection can join, no matter where they live. Doesn't matter if you're close to Gamlingay or Stockport or not.
Yeah, that virtual meeting is huge. It really opens up their potential audience,
Yeah.
takes away that barrier of physical distance. It could be perfect for someone who, maybe they're not comfortable going to an in-person meeting just yet.
Exactly. And to round out this first little stretch, on Friday, April 4th at 6 p.m., we have the For Men to Talk and Walk Hitchin group. They're meeting at St. Mary's Church in Hitchin. So just in these first few days, we're seeing the whole picture: physical meetings, virtual meetings, and that activity-based approach. It's all represented.
It is. It's almost like a mini version of their whole approach.
Mm.
And that walking group popping up so early in the month, it shows that traditional meetings aren't the only thing they're focused on.
Okay, let's move on to the week starting April 7th.
Okay.
We're seeing some familiar places popping up again and a couple of new ones.
Mhm.
So Monday the 7th, there's For Men to Talk Biggleswade. They've got an evening session happening at Jones Cafe Bar, and that starts at 6 p.m. Then Tuesday the 8th, it's For Men to Talk Potton at the Rising Sun in Potton, Bedfordshire. That's also at 6 p.m.
It's interesting. Early evening seems to be a popular time for these in-person meetings.
Yeah.
That makes sense, right?
Right.
It's probably a good time for guys who are, just finishing up their workday.
Yeah.
And adding Biggleswade and Potton, those places, it shows they're expanding their network in Bedfordshire and Cambridgeshire.
Yeah.
Might be a sign that there's a big need for this kind of support in those areas.
Yeah, maybe. What's interesting about this week is that For Men to Talk Biggleswade also has a good morning session.
Oh,
That one's scheduled for Thursday, April 10th at 10:30 a.m. at the Big Theater. So it seems like they're thinking about time as well.
right.
Not just location, but also what time of day might work best for people. This might be good for people who can't make it in the evenings.
Yeah, that's such a good point about accessibility.
Mm.
Having meetings at different times really opens it up for a wider range of schedules.
Yeah.
Maybe someone works shifts or they're retired or they just have stuff going on in the evenings. This could be a big deal for them.
And to keep that online presence going, the virtual group meeting for this week is on Wednesday, April 9th at 6 p.m. via Zoom. But then things get really interesting with the activity-based meetings. On Saturday, April 12th at 1 p.m., there's For Men to Talk and Fish at Manor Farm Fishery near Biggleswade. And then Sunday, April 13th, there are two walking groups. One is For Men to Talk and Walk Biggleswade, starting at Jones's Cafe Bar at 9:15 a.m. And there's another one, For Men to Talk and Walk Rushmore, meeting at the Wellington statue in Aldershot at 10 a.m.
The fishing group, that's a really cool addition. I mean, fishing, it's usually a pretty solitary thing, right? You're alone with your thoughts. But it can be really grounding, too.
Yeah.
So combine that with the chance to chat with other guys. It could be a really unique and, maybe less intimidating for some guys to open up.
Yeah.
And having two walking groups on the same day but in different locations, that really shows how they're expanding these activity-based meetings.
Moving into the week of April 14th, we see something new, like a more tailored approach to their virtual meetings. On Monday the 14th at 6 p.m., there's a For Men to Talk About Autism virtual group, and it specifically says it's tailored for autistic men, men with autistic family members, or men who are awaiting an autism diagnosis. So really honing in on creating a safe space for a specific community.
That is a big step. Making a dedicated space for men who share experiences around autism, it shows that they're recognizing the different needs within the broader male population. That kind of focused support can be so important for people who, just want to connect with others who get what they're going through.
Along with this specialized meeting, the regular physical groups are still going strong. For Men to Talk St. Neots is at St. Neots Golf Club on Tuesday the 15th at 6 p.m. For Men to Talk Stockport is back at the Wheat Sheaf, also on Tuesday, but at 7 p.m. The regular virtual meeting is Wednesday the 16th at 6 p.m. And For Men to Talk and Walk Hitchin is back on Friday the 18th at 6 p.m.
This week really shows how they're trying to find that balance. General support through those regular meetings, and then more specific support for people with unique needs. And the fact that the St. Neots, Stockport, and Hitchin meetings keep popping up, it seems like those are pretty established, maybe even like anchor points for the organization in those areas.
Moving on to the week of April 21st. The schedule's a little lighter this week, but they're still offering a good mix of meeting types. There's For Men to Talk Sandy at the Roundabout Club on Tuesday the 22nd at 6 p.m. The regular virtual meeting is Wednesday the 23rd. And For Men to Talk Biggleswade, the Good Morning Group, that's on Thursday the 24th. And we also see For Men to Talk and Fish back on Saturday the 26th, and For Men to Talk and Walk Rushmore on Sunday the 27th.
It seems like the fishing group and that Rushmore walking group are pretty popular. They keep coming back in the second half of the month. It might be that those activity-based formats are really working for the guys in those areas. And adding Sandy, well, that just expands their physical presence even more in Bedfordshire.
All right, last week, the week commencing April 28th, this brings us to the end of April, although there's a little hint of activity spilling into May. For Men to Talk Biggleswade, the evening session, that's on Monday the 28th, and the For Men to Talk About Autism virtual group, that's back on the same Monday at 6 p.m. For Men to Talk Stockport is on Tuesday the 29th, and the regular virtual meeting on Wednesday the 30th. And here's the interesting part. There's a For Men to Talk and Walk Hitchin down for Friday, May 2nd. So the walking groups, they're not strictly sticking to April.
Yeah, this seems like there's some momentum there. That autism-specific group coming back towards the end of the month, it shows how important it is to have that regular support for that community. And the Hitch and Walk being in May, well, that shows how popular these activity-based meetings are. They're keeping them going.
So now that we've gone through the whole month, what stands out to you? What does this April 2025 schedule tell us about For Men to Talk? How big are they, and how easy is it for people to get involved?
Well, a few things really jump out at me. First, they're not just a small local organization. They're holding physical meetings in a lot of different places.
Okay.
Cambridgeshire, Bedfordshire, Stockport, and Hampshire. Being spread across multiple counties means they're putting in a lot of effort to reach men in different communities. It makes you think there's a big need for this kind of peer support out there.
Yeah, definitely. And you can't ignore how consistent they are with those virtual meetings. A general virtual meeting every Wednesday, and then the autism-specific group twice a month. That shows they're really serious about making this accessible to everyone no matter where they live. That online component is a game changer for a lot of people who just can't attend in person.
Yeah, that virtual format is a must-have for accessibility.
Yeah.
It works for guys who live in more remote areas, guys with mobility issues, or maybe just people who are more comfortable starting out from home, especially if they're new to the group.
And then there's the variety. They're not just stuck on one way of doing things. It's not just sitting and talking. The walking groups and the fishing group, they get it. Men connect in different ways, through shared activities. This approach, it's got to be appealing to a lot of different personalities.
I agree. The activity-based groups, they take the pressure off conversation being the main focus.
Mhm.
Sometimes just doing something together can make guys feel more relaxed and, they open up more naturally. Plus, you see how many of these physical meetings happen regularly. It shows they're building real communities in those places. It's like a dependable source of support.
So, to wrap up our deep dive into this April 2025 schedule for Men to Talk, it seems like they've built a really solid and accessible support network. Location isn't a barrier, the way they run their meetings isn't a barrier. They're doing physical meetings in different regions, they're online all the time, and they've got these cool activity groups for guys who connect in different ways. And the fact that they're catering to the autism community, well, that shows how committed they are to being inclusive.
Absolutely. This schedule shows they're really thinking about how to build connections and support men.
Yeah.
They're offering different formats. They're in all these different places. It feels like they genuinely want to help as many men as possible.
It makes you think, right? What does community even mean to you? What kind of connections are important in your life? And what kind of support do you need?
Mm,
What's so cool about this schedule is that it reminds us that there are tons of ways to connect with other people, and there are organizations out there who get that and are trying to meet those needs.
yeah.
So that's all the time we have for today. But as always, keep the conversation going. Think about those questions. What does community mean to you? How do you connect best? And how can we all support each other in new and better ways?
Great questions.
Thanks for joining us on the deep dive. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.